Hi there, this is James Tripp. This is Hypnosis Without Trance. This video is all about self-hypnosis without trance. And I'm recording this video in response to a message I received asking about self-hypnosis. Let me just read the message to you. It says, "Hi James, I'm interested in giving myself hypnotic suggestions for therapeutic purposes. Any chance of seeing how you give suggestions to yourself?" Now, this is a great question. It's an interesting question. And to me, it reveals a certain way of thinking about hypnosis, which isn't the way that I think about hypnosis at all. A lot of the time when people think about self-hypnosis, they think about some special ritualized process where they take themselves out of everyday life and put themselves into a particular state and give themselves suggestions. But if you've watched the video that I just recorded before this one called Hypnosis in Everyday Life, and if you've watched the Loops That Run Your Life video, and if you're familiar with the Hypnosis Without Trance material, I've talked about this on the Hypnosis Without Trance Hypnosis Mastery Program. If you know this approach to hypnosis, you'll know that hypnosis is happening all the time. There is no reason, there is no need to take yourself out of everyday life to give yourself suggestions. In fact, it is happening moment by moment by moment. Yesterday I was listening to an audio by the life coach Mike O'Neill, and he quoted a statistic. I don't know if it's legitimate, if it's for real, but supposedly as human beings we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. How you would quantify that, I have no idea. But we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day, and each one of those thoughts is influencing your perception of reality. It's influencing your experience. Now, we're only consciously aware of a tiny quantity of those thoughts, a handful literally, but they're going on all the time. In essence, we are self-suggesting all the time. Our internal language, our internal dialogue, the pictures we make also, these are shaping and shifting our reality. We end up with these self-reinforcing feedback loops. I've talked about hypnotic loops before. And we get stuck in these realities based upon the way that we think about the world, the way we make sense of the world, and the way that we're commenting on the world, on what is happening moment by moment by moment. So, the answer to the question, and the question was, any chance of seeing how you give suggestions to yourself? It's happening all the time. Every single word I say to myself, every single word that comes out of my mouth, every single thought that I think is a suggestion to myself. Now, for some this might be overwhelming. They might say, well, you know, how am I supposed to get control of that? Well, you're not. You don't get to get control, but you do get to heighten awareness and increase your influence and start making better choices of how you speak to yourself, how you speak your reality every day. This is something that's well worth going deeply into. At some point I'm going to produce some more videos on this because it's such an important area. You can go so deep with this, but even if you make simple beginnings, you will make a huge difference. I've often said to people, sometimes people say, oh, you seem pretty down on NLP, but NLP changed my life. And one of the clearest and most impactful ways that NLP changed my life is that it changed my internal dialogue, or more specifically, I changed my internal dialogue based on what I learned from NLP. And I did it straight away. I did it right off the bat. And I've recommended this to many, many people, and some people take it on board and they do it. They take it on board as a discipline, as a skill, something they want to learn and get exquisitely good with, and they just start reshaping their internal dialogue. Other people go, oh yeah, I get that, and then they do nothing. They just let their thoughts continue to have them all the time. I believe it was Osho who said, thinking makes a wonderful servant and a terrible master. It is worth becoming the master of your thoughts. You do not want your thoughts to be the master of you. So this happens at many, many levels, but how you think about things shapes your reality, influences how you experience your reality. So you want to come to a point where you can master that. I got another communication, another email yesterday asking me whether or not you could hypnotically install hypnosis skills. And I said you can hypnotically install attitude, but skill is something that you just have to get in and you have to develop through application, through practice, through going through it, exploration, this kind of thing. And I got a reply back, and it said, "Thanks for a great reply, James. It's what I thought. Hey ho, back to learning the hard way." Now this is an example of a self-suggestion. Hey ho, I can imagine the tonality that's done with, back to learning the hard way. This is a way of framing and shaping experience. And I know for this person, learning is not going to be a fun thing. It's going to be hard, it's going to be work, it's going to be something they feel that they have to do in order to get a certain thing. It's going to have an extrinsic motivation built in rather than intrinsic motivation, and it's unlikely to be fun and enjoyable. So I just wrote back a single paragraph, very short paragraph, couple of sentences, and I said it's only hard if you conceptualize it that way. For me, it's just a process of exploration and play. It's just more fun that way. Now, that for a lot of people will be like, yeah, whatever, you know, that's fine. Think of it how you want. I'm just speaking, I'm just saying some words. But it's massive. It's absolutely huge. I used to conceptualize practice as hard work, as something difficult that I needed to do in order to get good. And guess what? I never enjoyed doing it. I mean, you know, I could push myself through and all of this, but it didn't bring out the best in me. It didn't open up my creativity. It didn't enable me to learn optimally. But when I looked at the suggestions I was giving myself around learning and how I was conceptualizing it, I recognized that by changing that, by giving myself different suggestions, by speaking my reality in different ways, by using different belief structures and bringing different concepts to bear. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm suggesting seeing it as exploration and play rather than as hard work. That is a self-suggestion. That's how I give myself self-suggestions. Now to do this, the first stage is to become aware of how you speak your reality. Listen to yourself. Start to hear where your words are empowering you versus where your words are disempowering you. That's the first place to listen. There are so many books, there are so many resources out there. Get into basic NLP, start thinking about outcome thinking. That was the first big shift for me in changing my reality, was changing my internal thinking to orientate towards outcomes. What is it that I want right now? What is it that I can do to make a difference right now? These sorts of thoughts started running in my mind instead of, oh, this is terrible, this is awful, why does this always happen to me? Changing thoughts on a basic level. The more you recognize that you have the opportunity to influence your experience of reality in every moment of every day, the more empowered you become to do that. Okay, so there's my gen on self-hypnosis without trance. You don't need to take yourself out to a special place. You're self-hypnotizing all the time. You're influencing yourself all the time. Learn everything that you can about how thoughts shape reality, how language influences reality, and then start applying it to yourself. Make positive, empowered choices to start speaking your reality the way you want it to be.